Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 10th combined meeting of the Pine-Richland School District. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Lyons?
Here.
Mrs. Misbach? Here. Mr. Kashani?
Here.
Dr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. DiTullio? Dr. Mihalik?
Here.
Dr. Meyer?
Here.
Mr. Moy?
Here.
Mrs. Swope?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our first item tonight, I'd like to welcome Representative Lori Mizgorski and Representative and Speaker of the House Mike Turzai to our meeting tonight to present the Gaming and Economic Development Fund grant in the amount of $250,000 to the district. Welcome, folks.
Oh, Mr. President, thanks so much for having us. Thanks, Peter. Do you mind if we...
Please, yeah.
As you all know, we, myself and my good friend and colleague, Representative Lori Mizgorski, we each represent one of the communities in the Pine-Richland School District. I represent the Pine Township part of the school district, and Representative Mizgorski represents the Richland Township part of the district. And we just think the world of the Pine-Richland School District and its students. At one point, I represented both communities. With redistricting, Richland Township went to the 30th district because of growth in population out our way. I want to tell you a little bit, and then Representative Mizgorski is going to talk to you about her involvement with schools and sports in schools and why we think athletics are so important to all of our school districts and our students. And certainly we understand the importance of academics first and the arts. But athletics are a big part of an important part of the community and the school atmosphere as well. The Gaming and Economic and Development Fund, we had started that in the state legislature some time ago with the first gaming expansion bill, which goes back almost 20 years. But in the last iteration in 2017, we did not think, myself as speaker, that there was enough representation of that money going around throughout the entire district. We changed how that money was being utilized in that legislation in 2017, and as a result, many of the outlying communities in Allegheny County more of that money was available to those counties. As Speaker, I have significant influence over those monies with my colleagues that represent many of the Allegheny County communities. And we're very equitable about it, but we are also very, very demanding about how those dollars are going to be spent. They really have to be spent on infrastructure projects with respect to the communities and with respect to the schools. We've always had a great relationship with Dr. Miller from the moment he's come over here to Pine-Richland School District. And I had asked him specifically where we might be able to best spend that $250,000 in terms of improvements with respect to the athletic facilities. And because I knew we were going to be able to secure those particular dollars. He and his team submitted an application. While they do have to go through 2 rounds of votes, both at the Allegheny County level, which is really just sort of a rubber stamp of what we have submitted, and then an organization called the Commonwealth Financing Authority. As Speaker, I have an appointment to that particular Commonwealth Financing Authority. Representative Mizgorski and I, because we share this school district, work hand in hand on projects here. And Representative Mizgorski also works on some other projects, as did I in my district and she in her district. I just want to read this to you here. We are pleased to report that the $250,000 grant has been approved by both the RAAC, the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County, which is the submittal of the project to the Commonwealth Financing Authority. And we know that multiple teams struggle to garner necessary practice and play time due to wet field conditions, lack of lighting. This project will provide a regulation-sized play area with a synthetic surf and field lighting. And the project also adds additional sidewalks and a 10-foot high fence to the fields. The new surface will allow teams to play in any weather condition. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Representative Wyszgorski, who has had 3 of her children go through the Shaler School District, one who's a senior right now. And Representative Wyszgorski, please proceed.
Well, thank you for having us here this evening, and I want to thank the speaker because when he approached me about this project, I was very excited to contribute to supporting it because it fit well with the other projects I was doing in my district, which includes a park in Shaler and Hampton Community Park as well. So this just was a project was a good fit for what I've been doing. And I know the speaker still is sad that he lost Richland. And that might even have influenced him retiring now. But I'm very happy to have Richland. I have family here. I have 2 nephews that went through the school district. They're both very successful young men, I can report. But I'm glad you're going to get these renovations on the field. Because I have an athlete, my son is a senior, and he is a football player. And as he played varsity quarterback all 4 years, and so as a freshman and a sophomore, he had to go up against Pine-Richland. So it was very scary for me. I'm glad he's graduating because you're dropping down to 5A again, so Shaler has to face you again, and you are formidable opponents. And now with this extra field, you're going to be able to practice like double, triple, I don't know, in every sport, so it's going to be much tougher. But I'm glad to be a part of this. I look forward to coming out and seeing the project when it's done, and hopefully the speaker will be able to join me. And I don't think I'll necessarily do anything athletic, maybe jog, but I'm not so good with the ball. I leave that to my son. So thank you.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, we're glad to take them. But I would just like to say, Dr. Miller, you and Peter came out to those first meetings, and to both of you, thank you very, very much for your input and your leadership in helping us get this done.
Okay. Thank you on behalf of the district. And I'm sure Mr. Lyons will add some comments. Really appreciate the support and the long-time relationship. So thank you, Speaker. We really do appreciate that. I want to take 1 second, though, for Sarah. So we are, as you, I know, probably tell her a million times over, she is an unbelievable part of your staff and your team in support for Pine-Richland specifically. And I cannot think of someone who on a day-to-day basis represents your interests or can support us as she does. So really appreciate, and I never get the opportunity to thank you in a setting like this. So thank you so much for all the little unseen things that make a big difference to this community, Sarah. So thank you.
Sarah Kennedy is my district director and also has responsibilities with respect to the state, given the Speaker's office. Lydia and I are actually godparents to her oldest, Mary, her daughter. She also has a little boy, and just does an amazing job and has a great friendship with so many people in the Pine-Richland School District and in Pine Township municipal government as well. And Sarah administers a lot of this, but a lot of other items as well too. And thank you so much, Doctor, for actually calling her out.
We are so grateful. The
I
community
did want her to run again, to run for my job. She didn't want it. Peter, I apologize, Mr. Lyons.
No, it is part of our plan and vision for students that athletics, diverse opportunities inside and outside of the classroom be accessible. And today, having only one turf field for a district of, over 4,500 students wasn't sufficient. We recognize that. And these funds will allow us to bring a second turf field so students can play year-round and practice, hone their skills, develop their bodies as well as their minds. Our ultimate Frisbee team won't be able to say they play in a detention basin. I think they always played that up a little more than that would actually happen. But certainly it will go to good use throughout the community. And you guys know, as you drive past all these schools year-round, the fields are used. The community comes and uses them in off hours and weekends as well.
No
so just a tremendous addition to this campus that we've built here as a community. So thank you on behalf of all of Pine-Richland.
Thank you. Well, Dr. Miller and President Lyons, would we be able to just take a little bit more of your time to get a photo with the team? Thank you very much. And if the rest of the team just wanted to line up here, stand up with us, we'd be honored to have it. Thank you very much.
Everyone knows there's 9 of us.
They want all of us for the group.
Okay.
You guys could come on over if you don't mind. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Should we like line up in an offensive formation?
I guess.
Mark the drug bag. The rest of us. There's some talk. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking up the time. Dr. Miller, thanks for taking up the time.
And just put it in your green folder, okay? Thanks.
Really good at that. Blue ones.
Mine's purple, so.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you giving us the time.
We'll now move to recognition of visitors. If anyone would like to address the board, they may do so at this time. Item 1.04, student and staff recognition. Ms. Hathorn.
Thank you. Several Pine-Richland High School students earned regional Scholastic Art Awards. Of the 27 awards earned by 17 high school students, 6 were Gold Key Awards. Junior Cynthia Chen earned 2 Gold Key Awards. Junior Bailey Clack earned a Gold Key Award, along with juniors Kate Lindris and Haley Wren and sophomore Bess Jarris. Regional award winners will be recognized at Community College at Allegheny County North on February 2nd. The artwork will be displayed through the 22nd as well if you want to check it out. Several teacher artwork is on display in local exhibits. Eden Hall Upper Elementary art teacher Caitlin Trinetti caulking oil and acrylic piece will be on display in Sharpsburg on February 27th. Middle school art teacher Holly Angeloff's sunflower painting was featured in the North Hills Art Center show. And high school art teacher Mariana Dressi participated in the Ali Kiski Arts Consortium educator exhibit called Practice What We Teach. Seniors Olivia McGeary and Claire Tobin were selected to participate in the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association district and regional choir programs, along with junior Kristen Donahoe and sophomore Nora Russell. The students will also travel to Hermitage February 26th through the 28th. 9th graders Ryan Daniels and Grace Hazlitt and 7th grader Sienna Yoon have been invited to participate in the PMA Junior High District Orchestra at South Fayette on April 3rd through the 4th. 6th graders Kaylee Bang, Ashlyn Cassell, Ava Coons, Brooke Deegan, Emily Dimitrovic, Annabelle Ivanko, Charlotte Leo, Madeline Merlack, Ryan Moore, Ryan Noir, and Riley Schaefer are also being selected for the PMEA District Band Festival at Hampton Middle School. That's the elementary one, March 13th through the 14th. 6th graders Kamara Matai, Brian Ock, Jay Ortwine, and Mackenzie Williamson were chosen for the PMEA Elementary Sing Fest at Chartiers Valley at 7 p.m. on May 15th. Junior Camille Greer was recognized for her writing at Carnegie Mellon University during the university's Martin Luther King Jr. Day Writing Awards program on January 20th. Her piece earned a Best School entry, so congratulations. In April, A.W. Beatty Career Center will send 19 students to Hershey to compete in the Skills USA Pennsylvania competition, and that's part of the national student organization that develops leaderships to complement what students are learning at the career and technical programs. Senior Jeff Swanson qualified internally at Beatty to advance directly to the state competition in the HVAC competition. And senior Arden Webster placed second at the district competition in medical terminology. Senior Luke Yoen placed fourth in collision repair, and Luke also earned a Student of the Month award at Beatty in December with seniors Aaron Schleicher and Cameron Kirkland and sophomore Graydon Sheridan. Pine-Richland High School is also pleased to announce 6 members of the high school hockey team were chosen to participate in the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Hockey League All-Star Game on January 7th. It includes seniors Richard Wild, Jack Tyndall, Joe Fulmer, and Danny Stauffer, and juniors Connor Salisbury and Charlie Mill. Varsity head coach Jordan Yocklick was also chosen as a all-star coach, so congratulations. The wrestling team is having an outstanding year. The team participated in 2 rounds of Whippeals and were stopped by Waynesburg. In addition, the Rams captured first place in the Allegheny County tournament, in which 37 teams participated. It's been 15 years since the Rams have captured that first at the county tournament, so they're pretty pumped. Seniors Daniel Krill, Justin Waltrip, juniors Gianna Julio and Rebecca Peng, and sophomore Hassan Rand organized and launched the annual hackathon. This is a 24-hour invention marathon, January 31st through February 1st at the high school. There were more than 100 participants from grades 7 to 12 from around the area collaborating on technology projects from scratch, and some of the projects included a financial literacy website to a web-based app that really helps students discern if someone who's tweeting is in emotional distress, and that app will then alert you that person might need to be checked on, and you can directly message that person. So a very creative solution. And the student project was run completely by students, although Val Klosky oversaw the project. So congratulations to those students. Also, we have an update just in today on the National Merit Program. We have some finalists. So we told you way back when we had 11 students named commended and semifinalists. All of our semifinalists have made the final cut to merit finalist status, and that's Daniel Krill, Aiden Meyer, Gina Sobel, and Justin Waltrip. So big honors. Congratulations.
Fantastic, Rachel. That is, if anyone doubts, I know we're not in any of our major sports seasons or playoffs, but I mean, that list in terms of offering diverse opportunities, we've got art, music, technology, career skills, smattering of athletics, so of course, just a tremendous litany. And congratulations to all those students. Item 1.05, correspondence, Ms. Williams.
None was received.
Thank you. Item 1.06 is a motion to approve the meeting minutes as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2.01, strategic plan. Dr. Miller.
Thank you. The first item is something we do quarterly, and we started this year. We have a narrative update for key initiatives, so we do this again once a quarter just to track progress on those areas. And the second part, which is the new part, is a dashboard. The dashboard lists all of the initiatives that may involve only a few people, or they may be large teams. But we see a progress bar in terms of the implementation of that plan and how we're measuring or what the expected result is from that work. And as our results start to come in, we will populate this as we finish the year. So the strategic plan, you know, we've talked about it being the map. So the mission, vision, values is a compass. The strategic plan is a map. And put together, that's what sets our direction. Accountability is a challenge for strategic planning. So how do we ensure that we're following the plan, we're implementing the initiatives, and what are the results that we're getting? So again, people can review this on their own, but we will continue to do this quarterly. Any questions on that section?
Just a quick question. I saw one of the high school goals, might be a question for Mike, was to reduce absenteeism. We have a breakdown on why students are absent and which areas that we're attacking, because obviously we're not going to drag 6 students to school, but what are the reasons students are missing at the high school level, and how we're trying, that we're trying to improve that number? Is it family trips? Is it, just not wanting to come to school and skipping school, or what's?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of student by student issues, that are going on when they hit that number. So what we've really been working on is, time with kids, and counselors in particular really spending the time when they hit a certain threshold of a number of days. Then counselors are taking it upon themselves to proactively start meeting with the students to see what it is. And it's a variety of reasons that are going on why students are missing so much school, but then trying to put some things in place with the families to support them early on instead of waiting until they get past that 10-plus days.
And again, this ties to Middle States, so this was something that emerged as an area of focus through the Middle States process. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one, in January, we had the PR Graduate Portrait Challenge related to health and wellness. Thank you to those who stepped up to the plate to be a part of that. This month, the focus is on skills. So we've done a slightly different approach, one to introduce this dimension of the graduate portrait, and you can see the skills listed on the screen. Our focus this month is within the school building for staff members to just take a little bit of their time, whether they're having lunch or if they get 2 minutes in the hall or whatever, to talk about how these skills fit within what they're working on within a particular content area. At home, we're hoping that parents and students around the dinner table or somewhere else in the car can talk about these as well, so that students can better feel how powerful these set of skills are. We don't have a course in time management, but we know collectively if time management's not a strength, there's a whole lot of things in life that become very difficult. And so how do these critical areas of a graduate portrait become embedded in what's happening both within school and then how habits are formed at home? So it's not too late to accept the challenge. If you see that, click on this link. Each of you, and you have the opportunity, if you want to click on that link and just really help us continue to get that message across. Good. Okay. The third one is just we really appreciate and hope that everyone in our school community and community at large understands what's been happening this year with the visitation. So at the end of January, we had board members and a team visit Eden Hall, Upper Elementary, and Richland for about 3 hours each to really go deeply into certain aspects of programming. And so I wanted to sort of open that up to the board who participated to share any observations or comments based on that experience.
Yeah, I'd like to speak up. So I saw something amazing in one particular classroom. I saw a teacher running 4 different 5th grade groups at the same time. They were all reading but doing different activities, and that was a skill level that you rarely see, and a practice in a classroom that is incredibly rare. But it really speaks to every child being engaged at a high level in learning and enjoying themselves, and was very pleasing to see. Very pleasing to see.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. So at Eden Hall, one of the components that was viewed was RAM time, reading and math time. And in that time period, we have students moving all throughout the building. Some are receiving interventions out of the classroom, some are receiving enrichment, but other students remain in their biome, which is the term they use for that grade level area. And how do we meet the needs of students remaining in a biome is actually the building goal for this year and the next 3 years at Eden Hall. So to see that, that's something that they are really focused on trying to take the next step.
Yeah, and also the school climate. I mean, you would never know that there were, 1,100 students in that building that day? There's a buzz where things are happening, but it's also very calm and a pleasant environment. So it was a really, really great experience. And especially Principal Smith for organizing it and running it. It was very well done.
And there's a direct connection to resources there as well.
Yeah.
So whether it's the Chromebook carts or the software resources that allow distinction and different leveled reading or math exercises that I think are key to getting that type of differentiation and enrichment experience and extension for everyone is a part of it too. And so we're able to see that as well. You know, speaking of hardware, the building improvements at Richland were very impressive. So we had some simple renovations, which we won't get into, but also the main renovations in the auditorium, which I hadn't seen yet. So just it's a tremendous resource to have a space that large, which gives them great opportunities to get the kids up. And we saw some of those uses. So that was tremendous as well to make that connection to projects that have been approved.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the STEAM room as well, getting to see a class utilizing that in different work areas and different intellectual pursuits where they had their different areas of interest, and the teacher was just overseeing them in those activities. That was refreshing to see that they had that space that they could sign out and use and bring the students out of the classroom to a different environment and engage in those activities.
And I think that learning about the various programs, but getting to experience them as well in the classroom, and to listen to the teachers articulate about the programs themselves. I mean, it's very impressive to listen to that, but then to understand it at a little deeper level than just, you know, we hear the MTSS and, you know, these acronyms that are thrown around, and you read about them, but to hear someone talk about them and then to see them in action. The Rams way, the resiliency, listening to the kids talk about trust and relationships, and it was really, it's just pretty amazing, so.
And the kids were more than willing to share with us what they were doing, and answered every question we had, and it was they were fully interactive with what they were doing, and then with us intruding on their classroom.
What impressed me was the sense of ownership that Mr. Smith and his staff have with that whole building.
Yeah.
And their eye towards optimizing how things are run for the benefit of the student experience. It's just quite amazing to see it. So it's great to have that opportunity.
Okay, so the final round will be at the middle school and at Wexford Elementary School. So we'll figure that out as we get a little bit deeper into the spring, what date might work for that. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for organizing it.
Yes.
Finance, Mr. Kashani.
Okay, item 3.01 is a motion to approve the financial reports dated December 31st, 2019, and accounts payable dated February 10th, 2020, in the amount of $249,203.59, and paid accounts for January, February in the amount of $5,660,500.69 as listed.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3.02 is a motion to approve the budget transfers in the amount of $142,664 as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3.03, motion to approve Hossack Spec Mutual and Wood LLP to provide independent audit services for the years ended June 30th, 2020, 2021, and 2022 as per the proposal dated January 2020.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
And item 3.04 is an informational item that we had prior to this meeting. We had a finance committee meeting where we spent the bulk of the time talking about Tony Masidi of PNC gave us a market update and gave us a nice overview of some bond refunding candidates that are coming up. There's a substantial opportunity to save cash flow over time and reduce our debt services as a result. So it was nice to have those options. Series 2015A is up first, and in March we'll be able to start pricing that, refunding. Series 2010 is the big prize, and that's a few months out, but still that will be nice to have this year, hopefully. And then we spent a little bit of time about how, as a board, we can enhance our communication to the community around budget and the key milestones within our process. And so we moved the chains on that a bit too. And our next meeting, our next Finance Committee meeting is April 6th. So by then it'll be nice, we should have that Series 2015A priced. I think that's it.
Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure.
Academic achievement, Dr. Meyer.
This is just a reminder that the academic achievement meeting is scheduled for May 4th, 2020 at 6 p.m. In-depth program reviews for music, English language arts in the library will be presented. This is an off night for the board meeting. No board meeting will follow the committee meeting.
Thank you. If you could do buildings and grounds, and I'll warn you ahead of time, they're not all voting items, so pay attention to your programs.
This is a motion to approve, in accordance with the Board Policy 613, Cooperative Purchasing, the purchase of custodial equipment from Buckeye International through the CoStar's Cooperative Purchasing Program at the cost of $14,025.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5.02. This is a motion to approve a proposal from RPM Energy Consulting, LLC, to replace the capacitor bank at the Pine-Richland Middle School at the cost of $4,882.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Is there any way that can be a flux capacitor?
Depends on how fast you drive.
Sorry.
Written all weekend.
Recycling and sustainability, however, is one of our goals. So,
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
I think that's what ran the flex.
That is right. That's right.
Any other comments?
I'm very proud of Matt.
Yeah, me too. I'm
Every now
excited
and
about
then.
that whole
Every now and then.
show. It's good.
All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5.03 is an information item for the board consideration at March 2nd, 2020 planning meeting. Motion to approve materials installation of new turf at the high school and Field 6 as attached.
Do you mind, Dr. Meyer, if we take the next three? Is
Nope,
that okay?
that is
so
fine.
Mr. Zimmerman's here, so if you want to share a little bit, but just, again, these are here as placeholders, knowing that action will be requested on March 2nd.
Okay.
There's three items, 03, 04, and 05 on the agenda. The first two are connected to cooperative purchasing. The third is connected to bid work. But if you want to share a little bit more detail about any or all of those, and then any questions the board members may have.
Sure, absolutely. So this project for Field 6 in the stadium was actually broken down into three parts. The first part was returfing the stadium field. The second major part is actually the construction and the turf installation and the lighting over at Field 6. And we broke that project up into turf under a cooperative purchasing program, RFP. We did the same thing with lighting with the cooperative purchasing RFP. And then we have a competitive bid for the site work. So, so far we've received the cooperative purchasing RFP numbers for the turf, and they look really good. We're in the process of making our recommendation on that. And you know, we're kind of concerned going in from last year. We went a whole calendar year now, but we found out that we're actually 5% lower than we were last year for turf. So things are looking pretty good. So the process is working. Next Monday, the lighting is due back from that RFP process. So we're looking forward to getting those numbers back. And then next Wednesday, on the 19th, is when we get the numbers back for the competitive bid. And we're gonna roll all those numbers up and do a write-up for you for next Friday on the 21st. We'll be able to provide our recommendation for you.
Okay. And I'd add one, with the hail damage that came through, and we know what's coming in terms of some of the roofing work across this campus, The lights at the existing stadium were also damaged significantly, and insurance proceeds paid for the majority of that. We did a little bit of a LED upgrade, but the vast majority of that replacement. As you're going past there, those new lights, Musco lighting, are in place, and you'll get an opportunity to see that, and also the improvement in where the lighting comes directly on the field. So for the Laurel Grove to come community across the street, instead of that bleed that happens with lighting on in stadiums, we see much more directed lighting with a lot of other components to that. So again, it's a nice thing to see relative to what else we're talking about with this whole project.
What color palette are we using on the stadium turf? Is it the approved official color palette?
It is.
Is it? Okay.
It is.
All right, good. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Item 5.06 is a discussion item. During the 2018-2019 school year, the district took a proactive and systematic approach to expand preventative testing that exceeds regular requirements. The long short here is because we did testing in 2018-2019, the decision was made not to request it for the 2019-2020 year.
So again, just a quick reminder on this, because it is a part, we have Mr. Gruber's here as well as Mr. Zimmerman, and Bruce Reamer, who's our maintenance coordinator, is a part of this. So our testing exceeds requirements. So what we engaged in last year in terms of lead in water, lead in paint, indoor air quality, far exceeds the expectations that are out there. Any areas with and Mrs. Williams, tell me the number, because we did add up the total number of tests for our MAPE application. Remember it?
I want to say 800.
Yeah, 800 or so individual tests in all of these areas across the district. So it is not necessary to test, for example, lead in water, but if there were any areas that were identified as needing to be either remediated or flushed or a fixture or something, those changes occurred last year. The indoor air quality is something that we are testing on a sample basis every year. And so we did that. We talked about the timing of those tests. So as we get into August, that's a time period that we look at that work. The other testing that occurred last year was radon testing. And again, that happened in all schools. And then we were able to take action if necessary relative to that. So we're proud of this. We've taken something that is a challenge, and I think we're addressing it in a proactive way, and doing all of the work that comes with anything that comes out of those results. So again, I think a good step in terms of our systematic approach to facilities maintenance.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla, for jumping in for Greg.
One more. 5.07 is just a reminder, Buildings and Grounds meeting is scheduled for March 2nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. Tentative topics include current and future capital building and athletic projects.
Dr. Campbell.
All right, item 6.01 is a consent agenda. Motion to approve the student services consent agenda as listed below for items 6.02 through 6.06.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. I'll repeat here. If any board member would like an item pulled from the consent agenda, please let us know. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, item 6.07 is a motion to approve the updated 2019-2020 student handbook and the 2019-2020 discipline code as attached.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Do you mind if I speak to that briefly? Okay, so we put in public content a very specific explanation here, but it came to our attention that we had outdated language in our discipline code in our high school handbook. And that was around student expression and protected speech. So when that came to our attention, we looked at it. The important things that we identified here is policy is often confused. So as media or other places cover things, policy is board policy. And the board policy at Pine-Richland has been and continues to be accurate in terms of its description, and some examples are there. Where we found some of the language that was, again, outdated was in the handbook and discipline code. So those minor adjustments have been made here for reapproval this evening. And, you know, the important thing that I would mention, you know, again, is policy has been and continues to be accurate, and no action at any time for students would have ever been taken based upon language that was outdated in the handbook or discipline code. So again, that's reflected here in writing for clarity. The next part, and I know there's action required on this one, but I'll mention the AR update, which is the next item that's informational. So policy often translates into action. Sometimes it's through administrative regulation, sometimes it is through the discipline code, sometimes it might be through the annual notices that Mrs. Hathorn shares with the community each year. I mean, it goes into a lot of places. And even though we update the discipline code annually, there are still some things that happen that are missed from time to time. So as we are cycling through every single policy in the Pine-Richland School District, and we've been approaching this for years, so our policy review's been going on for 5 years, and this year the focus specifically is on, do policies need administrative regulations? And if so, does it go into an AR, or does it get embedded within some other document or website or other approach that's used within the district? So we are reaching that place where we are in the last, I would say, dozen of 249 policies that are being reviewed to determine and make sure that our language of implementation is accurate. So over the next, I would say, month to 3 months, the board will see a whole lot of ARs come forward. Those are not for action. The policy is the governance, that's the law of the board and of the federal government and state government and every other legal connection we need. But the ARs are how we implement that. And so we are working very hard and have been to line these types of things up to avoid issue.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, the last item, 6.08, is an information item about the AR updates.
I
We already
just
spoke
hit
about
that enough,
yeah.
I think we're good.
All right, and that's it for student services.
Thanks, Ben. Dr. Mihalik, Staff Services.
Thanks. Item 701, personnel, is a motion to approve the personnel, supplemental, and transportation items as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 702, approval of principal internship. This is a motion to approve the principal internship at Eden Hall Upper Elementary as listed below.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
703 is a motion to approve the staff attendance and application of Jean Whalen, Director of College and Career Counseling, to participate in counselor information sessions at High Point University in High Point, North Carolina, from Wednesday, April 1st to Friday, April 3rd, 2020, as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes? Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
704 is, I guess, an action that we'll take up in a future meeting, a motion to approve an agreement. Oh, okay. Oops.
Hang tight 1 second.
Yeah, it's for tonight.
It is for tonight, okay.
Yeah, it's,
Here, I'll refresh.
hang on a second. I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
So traditional frontline proposal. So-
That's what happens when you get a flux capacitor in the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
of everything here.
Too much flux.
Frontline.
could probably open it up.
Would you like me to provide the information?
No, what would be good if you just want to explain
Want me to-
what this is.
Sure. So, as it says in the public content, ultimately, we have been using the Job Applicant Center as our recruiting and applicant tracking software for the district for the last several years. As we're making our transition away from our current financial information system to our new system, the new system does not have an embedded and integrated applicant tracking system. We've gone through a process to identify a replacement for that system, which is the motion before you this evening. The motion is to approve an agreement with Frontline Education for applicant tracking software in the amount of both an initial setup and remainder of this school year, as well as 2020-2021 school year, in the amount of $19,054.66.
$54.66, Ellen?
Yep.
Okay. All right, you can go ahead and refresh now.
We'll consider that read into the record, Ms. Williams.
My turn now.
Are there any questions from Mr. Kenny or comments?
I think so.
Have we been seconded? I don't think we have. Motion's been made and seconded. Mr. Kenny, thank you for doing the research and providing the documentation and the analysis. Ready to vote?
Yes.
All those in favor say yes. Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the full team of 10 plus 1 on the last one there. Thanks. Yeah, sure. Okay, item 705, Duquesne University Affiliation Agreement. A motion to approve the affiliation agreement with Duquesne University as attached.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. As an employee of Duquesne University and the Associate Dean of Teacher Ed, I need to abstain from this movement or this vote.
All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Noted, Dr. Meyer. Thank you.
Just a quick note, we have these agreements with a dozen universities, so I just wanted to point that out. We try to keep them all in the same cycle, but this one was a little bit out of cycle for some reason.
Item 706 is the first reading of policy 330, overtime. It's an information item for board consideration at the March 2nd planning meeting. There will be a motion to approve the first reading of policy 330, overtime, as attached. Any comments? Okay. Item 7.07 is an information item about procurement attachment to policy 626, federal fiscal compliance. If there's any, want to comment on this?
The only comment that I have is just that this is an annual approval, and every January 1st, the new quote and bid limits are released. So this is merely just updating our procurement attachment, specifically for federal funding and federal requirements. We do send this out to all of our department heads, building principals, administrators, and building secretaries as well, so that they're all aware of these requirements. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. And item 708, reminder of a staff services committee meeting scheduled for April 20th, 2020 at 6 p.m. A hiring update will be provided. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Moy, Operational Services.
Sure. Item 8.01 is a demographic study proposal. This is a motion to approve Thomas and Williamson LLC for a demographical and educational facility planning study, providing a base scope of services for the lump sum not to exceed $26,650 as attached.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I would just say that this follows the timeline that we had previously discussed in terms of looking at the study for the district to understand where we were in 2016 and how that updates the actuals today to get a baseline. So this is in line with what we had discussed previously in October.
Any other comments? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8.2, food service donation. Motion to accept in accordance with Board Policy 702 with sincere gratitude a donation from an anonymous donor of $250 to be applied to the food service meal accounts at Richland Elementary School.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Again, thank you. Item 8.03, recycling of computer equipment. This is, one second, there we go. Motion to approve the disposal of technology equipment, hardware, and accessories through computer systems asset disposal in accordance with policy 622 at no cost to the district.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8.04, 2020 and 2021 meal prices. For board consideration at the March planning meeting, motion to establish the following meal prices for 2021. I'll note that there has been no increase across the board. Let's see. Then another informational item, 8.05, reminder of the Joint Operational Service Student Committee meeting. This will be scheduled on March 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. and the topic is redistricting.
Thank you, Matt. Under board business, I have three updates or items. 9.01, I don't think we have any interest, but we'll put us here as an information item. The board may nominate someone to the Allegheny County Schools Health Insurance Consortium Board of Trustees, which is composed of members of management, board members primarily from around Allegheny County, and members from labor who come together to provide a healthcare infrastructure that supplies healthcare for over 18,000 current retired employees. It's quite a task. It makes our employees happy to have that done. It makes me happy to have that done for us as part of our services that we provide to employees, and it probably makes Owen pretty happy not to have to incorporate that into all his contract negotiations. So this does come up from time to time. I wanted the opportunity to be in front of board members, but it is, I would consider it a more significant lift for a board member to take on, but it's out there, and this may arise again in the future. Item 9.02 is a discussion on charter school reform. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Meyer, if I could.
This is, those of you who pay attention to the PSPA policy announcements, this has been gaining a lot of attention, and for very good reasons. Essentially, it is discussing how charter schools are funded in the state of Pennsylvania, and over the past several years, Dr. Miller and I actually talked about this, the way it has funded has continued to grow with less services. And there have been some school districts who have brought out resolutions or statements that questions and states that they do not support what is being done in this manner. And when you look at, data both nationally and locally in context, the success of these schools and the graduation rates and the academic success do not differ and definitely do not outperform your standard public schools. So today is just a discussion of the board whether or not we want to propose our own resolution about how we stand on this. I, for one, believe that the funding needs to be seriously considered how it's done, specifically because cyber schools receive the same amount of funding as brick and mortar schools with a lot less overhead, which is extremely problematic. So we just brought this to the board's attention for further discussion.
Yeah, if I could add just an example in terms of the funding reform. So in 2013-14, we had 93 students who live within the boundaries of Pine-Richland Township, attending either cyber charter or brick and mortar charter. And for those that do attend a charter school, about 80% of those attend a cyber charter school. So again, 2013-14, we had 93 students. In 2018-19, that number was reduced to 53. So when we look at all of our enrollment trends across different groups in the district, whether it's private, parochial, or homeschool, or in this case, charter. So we reduced 40 students between those years. We have more students coming to the public school. Cost comparison, in that 93 student year, the cost to the district was $653,000. With 40 less students, the cost of 53 students was $1.2 million. And when you look at the funding for general education versus special education students, it is significant. Dr. Meyer mentioned some of the other considerations of outcomes, learning outcomes and otherwise, that are a part of this. So this is my 7th year at Pine-Richland. Rarely do I engage in political or legislative input, but as an educator and from the fiscal accountability expected of us with a number of mandates and accountability measures that impact public schools, it is not an even playing field, and the funding formula for 53 students is $1.2 million. That's a significant, I think, eye-opening statistic when we think about what that means.
Can I just add one more thing? The other thing to be well aware of is the charter schools are not held to the same accountability levels that public schools have. So when we're talking about like attendance, things like that, test scores, there's not the same accountability level. So I also have a lot of concerns because of that when it comes to how they're being funded.
Now, originally when the charter school bill was passed, the state was reimbursing schools for a lot of the costs, weren't they? Like there was some, and then that reimbursement went away. There was some partial reimbursement.
I was in North Carolina when that happened.
Oh, okay. But the other thing is, this money, when taxpayer money comes into our school district, we not only invest in the students, but the infrastructure that is a public asset. Our new Field 6 is a public resource the public can use. When this money goes to cyber charter schools or charter schools, that capital or that what goes into their infrastructure, whether it's online infrastructure or physical infrastructure, is not a public resource anymore. So we're taking tax dollars that would be used for public resources and moving to something that's not accessible to the public.
That is correct.
And from what I've been reading about this is that the idea is not to try and get rid of cyber charter, it's trying to bring them to accountability and for the funding to be on a more fair basis as what, and I think that one of the biggest areas is for the cyber charter is some special needs area too, how they're being reimbursed when there's different levels of need for a student at that, as opposed to a general ed student, and they're still receiving a full amount for a very elevated need student versus one that might only have a speech deficit.
There's not a differentiation.
Correct.
You're correct.
So.
And we're fortunate that it doesn't have a devastating impact on our budget. There are schools out there that are seeing a lot of budget uncertainty year to year as their numbers fluctuate with charter and cyber charter.
That is correct. I mean, we're here in Pine-Richland, thanks to our administrative and our board's leadership in the past, we are in a very financially healthy situation. Whereas children in our region who attend other schools attend schools who are not, and those costs to certain school districts, I mean, they're insurmountable for the school districts. There's local school districts who are furloughing and other things. So it is really, it can have a very negative impact.
Does PSBA have a statement, or we've had this in the past on
it's available, and there's also a very generic resolution provided by PSBA. Dr. Miller and I had talked about that, and if we decided that's the direction we want to move, we decided we'd like to make it much more contextualized about our schools.
Okay, that's fine. I was just wondering if there was
there-
something
you
like
know,
that
there
or
are
something
some-
to work off of that we
Oh,
could
yes.
then customize to.
Yeah, there is a generic statement.
Mhm.
we missed an opportunity to move this to the first item tonight while our state representatives were held captive.
And this is not true of all of the cyber schools that function in the state, because in Pennsylvania it is illegal to have private charter schools. However, there are connections to cyber schools in Pennsylvania who are managed by outside private companies. So that is also something to consider when we're talking about all of this, that there are for-profit management companies behind some of these schools.
I think the message, one of the ideas going back to 3 decades, the inception of school choice was this idea that, empowering people and giving them the choice is going to improve outcomes overall. And the reality is that not all choices end up being good choices or are made necessarily with all the information at hand, for instance, or with, full freedom to move between these domains. So getting the message out that these outcomes are not as good as people may know is one important aspect. I think there's no doubt in my mind that we offer a better product, and that's part of it. To have ARM funds redirected with all the effort I see and the accountabilities that go on in this room, in these meetings, to have public tax dollars taken and moved out of that domain for outcomes that are unclear or not held to the same standard. I think that resonates. I think that would resonate in our community in particular. So I think it's good to move forward on this.
I think one thing to be aware of is, or that we need to make clear is, so in saying that, there are students who do want that option, or families that want that option for their students to be able to do a cyber education instead of a brick and mortar. So, but to hold the organizations, the companies that are providing those services to accountability for their services, as well as with the funding, that it's a more fair funding along with public education, or public school, in a brick and mortar public school, making that more equitable. So that would be something I would think we'd want to look at within our statement, and not just blanket against a cyber education. I understand, but I don't know if that's really if that's what we're including in this, or are we sticking more with funding and accountability?
I think that we're sticking with funding and accountability, okay. But as school board members, I would highly encourage you to look at the data and what type of education is being provided.
Right.
Any other input for?
I think, as far as I'm concerned, the funding side of it there's logic behind that makes sense to me. That it does seem to be somewhat out of whack. But I don't know that I would personally support it past the funding argument.
I recommend, Dr. Meyer, if you could work on a draft and we can get it to the board in advance of our March 2nd meeting.
I am out of town on March 2nd, but I will have the resolution to you before that.
We will have someone shepherd it along. Thank you. Next item is just a reminder of our workshop scheduled for next week in 8 days, Tuesday, February 18th. Reports, Dr. Miller, anything?
Nothing else.
Christine, anything? Prof, anything?
No, they canceled their meeting in February. There haven't been any grants. They're out of a window right now. Beatty, we actually had our meeting today, our Beatty Awareness Committee meeting today. Did you want to go over?
Yeah, I can speak briefly to that again. That's committee members from across all grade spans here, along with Swope and Ms. Misback, that we get together at least quarterly to talk about what we can do as a school district to ensure that our parents or students are aware of all the opportunities that Beatty has to offer. Our next task is we're working with groups of students to hear from them in terms of their perspective, why they chose or did not choose Beatty. We think that'll help inform us with some more awareness activities. And just a reminder, Beatty does have an open house coming up on March 5th from 5:15 to 8:15. So that'll be advertised as well, coming out through eBlast for parents and students to go over and get a chance to see Beatty firsthand.
Mhm. And one other thing with Beatty, the advanced computer programming course that they have there, they will finish it through this year, and then they will curtail that program because they feel that the sending schools are able to deliver that education or that programming within their setting, and so they don't need to have it at Beatty. But, and I think I already told the board in a report back in in December that they are adding a surgical sciences or technology sciences program this coming school year, and they already had like 44 students who went to view it and are not just from here, not from Pine-Richland, but from overall that attended a program introduction. But they have one thing that they do have a grant in for is a virtual dissection that they'll be able to do. I'm assuming human body, I'm not sure, but I think that'd be pretty cool. But it's virtual, so I thought that was, and it's through a grant that they're able to purchase this technology, so.
And that new program is reflected in our program of study, so our students, as they're looking for options, they'll see that listed there.
Right.
I have a very brief update from the IU. We are continuing our executive director search, and I'm hopeful by our next meeting we'll have found the candidate and come to an agreement. It's been a long process. It's time consuming for everyone involved, but I'm hopeful we'll be able to move forward very soon on that. We'll have an announcement to make publicly. That's it. We'll have a second recognition of visitors. Seeing how there is none, we'll move to adjourn the meeting to an executive session to discuss school safety, security, student, and staff and negotiation items. Have a good evening, everyone.